Welcome back to another Mech Deck Tech. Today we'll be going over another Precon upgrade guide from Commander Masters, Enduring Enchantments. Before we dive on in, I noticed that most of you still aren't subscribed. If you're enjoying these upgrade guides and deck techs, please consider subscribing to the channel to help it grow, and ringing that bell to never miss an upload. Today's episode is dedicated to Tim Lewis. Tim, you rock. Enduring Enchantments, as the name suggests, is all about casting enchantments, and we're looking to get extra value off of doing so. As usual, we're taking 10 cards out and adding 10 cards in. So, what cards didn't make the cut? Cast Out is a flashable enchantment for 3 and a white, which exiles a permanent until it leaves the battlefield. You could also cycle it off for just a single white. We've seen similar effects get cut from past decks, and this one is no different. I really don't like these jail-style effects, and despite the decent synergy with our commander, I just don't think it's strong enough to stick around. Culling Ritual is up next, and while I really like this card in general, I feel like it goes against what the deck is trying to do. Our commander is going to make token copies of enchantments from our grave on ETB and on attack, and those tokens would be wiped out by this effect. And while the mana boost could be super helpful, we really only have 2 mana dumps in the entire deck. And so for that reason, I got rid of it. Dreadhorde Invasion is a decent enchantment to have if you're looking for a Voltron style of play, but I don't think it really gives us the value that we're looking for, since the zombie army will be a prime target for removal right before it hits 6 power, which takes about half the game to do. Font of Fertility is a slow ramp that takes 3 mana and brings out a single basic land tapped. The fact that we have to sack it for the ramp to occur means that our commander could copy it, but I don't think it's enough for it to make the cut. Mindwrack Harpy is here for self-mill, and while that helps with our commander's ability, I'd rather be able to play enchantments twice over milling them and only getting to play them once. Narcy, Fable Singer, cares about us sacking our enchantments and rewards us with card draw for doing so. She works particularly well with sagas, but we actually don't have a ton of them in this deck. And most of our other enchantments don't have sack outlets built into them. I can definitely see myself building a deck around this commander, because they are a legendary creature, but I just don't think that they're going to put in the work here. Nyx Weaver is here for the same reason as Mindwrack Harpy. It's self-mill. They're being cut for the exact same reason too. I want to be able to play these things twice, not just once, and self-mill doesn't let me do that. Omen of the Hunt feels a lot better than Font of Fertility, despite having the same mana cost to get a tapped land out. Part of that is due to the fact that it's flashable, and the other part is that when we do eventually sack it to its effect, we get to get a little bit of card selection. Omen of the Sun gives us 2 1/1 human soldiers and offers the same scry effect, but again, I just don't think it's enough. If this were more of a token-leaning deck, where I cared about making tokens, I could see it getting to stick around and see some play. But this deck really cares more about enchantments than tokens. The fact that our commander creates tokens is kind of consequential. Like, it's not the main focus, is what I'm saying here. Last but certainly not least, we have our Spirited Companion. He's definitely a good boy and offers us some card draw when he ETBs. We want our enchantments to have really lasting and impactful effects, and this 1/1 just doesn't do that. So what cards are replacing these? Well, starting off we have Argothian Enchantress. She's a similar cost to our Spirited Companion, but gives us a ton of card draws opposed to just 1. And with Shroud, she's very difficult to remove and is going to provide us just a ton of value. Cultivator Colossus likely seems like an odd choice, but he's a powerful combo piece that will truly let us run away with this game. Speaking of powerful combo pieces, we have Kodama of the East Tree. He's definitely become one of my favorite combo pieces to add into decks. But what he's comboing with this time, you'll have to wait and see. Mercule, Lord of Bones, is another combo piece after my own heart. I'm a combo player by nature, and the value he's generating for us is pretty much a chef's kiss. Idyllic Tutor is up next, and honestly should have just been included in the Precon. We're going to grab an enchantment we want from our deck. I don't really need to say more about it. Following up our Tutor, we have Cloud Key, here to reduce our mana. We're always going to name enchantments, and that cost reduction is going to go a lot further than a single basic land ever would. Crystal Chimes follows up our Cloud Key, and is going to give us the option to play our enchantments an additional time without having to exile them through our commander's ability. Staff of Domination is yet another combo piece and is going to grant us all the life, card draw, and mana that we could ever hope to have. It's just a solid combo piece that should pretty much be in every combo deck. All that glitters should have been included in the deck. Slapping it on any of our tramply boys is a surefire way to deal just a ton of damage. Gauntlets of Light is the final edition and works well with most creatures, giving them potential like pseudo-vigilance, and happens to create some combo potential as well. With those cards out of the way, let's go over our combos! Starting off, we have Kodama the East Tree and Felidar Retreat. All we need to get this combo really going is any of the bounce lands, and this deck actually happens to have all three of them already in the deck. No modifications required. So with Kodama the East Tree and Felidar Retreat on the field, we go ahead and play our bounce land, returning it to our hand. This is going to trigger both Felidar Retreat and Kodama. So Felidar Retreat's going to let us either create a cat or put on some counters for all of our creatures. Doesn't matter, we're going infinite, so we're going to have an infinitely large army of cats who are infinitely powerful along with the rest of our board. We're going to do this by just replaying the land that we bounced back with Kodama's effect, just to infinitely flicker it basically. And in the end, there's no real stopping our board. Next up is Cultivator Colossus and Abundance, which lets us play every land in our entire deck onto the field. And, in the process, lets us, to an extent, choose the order in which we want to have our library be. Once you have literally all of your lands, and, your deck's organized in the most efficient way with the amount of card draw we have, we're basically going to get to play out our entire deck and just stomp face. Sanctum Weaver is up next and can go infinite with two different cards. Gauntlets of Light combos with it to get infinite mana, where Staff of Domination lets us have infinite mana, life, and card draw. Last up, we have Mercule, Lord of Bones, and Ondu Spirit Dancer. These two are looking for any one of three cards to kind of finish off the combo. Adiana Blossom is going to grant us infinite card draw. Using Setessan Champion gives us that same card draw, but also a basically infinitely powerful Setessan Champion. Lastly, using Archon of Sun's Grace gives us an infinite number of Pegasus. Now, each of these combos do require a way for Ondu Spirit Dancer to die, which exists in the deck, but given the number of cards required to pull this off, it's definitely the most difficult sort of combo that we have. But we have a lot of card draw, so it's possible you'll see it. But I would also like to note that the instant speed destruction of our creature to kind of keep this going does require mana. That being said, I'd probably put in, if you really wanted to kind of hard focus this, any of the altars that let you just sack creatures at instant speed for no cost. In fact, they tend to give you mana or force mill, things of that nature. But with our combos complete, let's get into our 3 Rs. That's right, it's time for ramp, removal, and reactions. Starting us off, we have Composer of Spring, which is going to let us cheat out extra lands each turn for playing our enchantments. Courser of Crufix is here to help us stay the course. We're giving away vital information in terms of what we're drawing, but we're also less likely to miss land drops as a result, and so I think it's a good trade-off. Cultivator Colossus should guarantee us at least one land, but as we've seen from the combo section, he could definitely do a lot more than that. Demon of Fate's Design doesn't ramp per se, but it's close enough, allowing us to pay life instead of mana for one enchantment each turn. Dryad of the Elysian Grove lets us play an extra land each turn and fixes our mana for us. Greater Tanuki lets us discard them to grab a basic land, putting it into play tapped, and of course discarding it as an enchantment creature also means that our commander can bring them back. Herald of the Pantheon is another mana reducer, as is Junkai Naturalist. Sanctum Weaver is a powerful mana dork in this deck. Starfield Mystic is another mana reducer. We of course have some more traditional ramp in the form of Farseek, Kodama's Reach, and Rampant Growth, as well as a few mana rocks such as Arcane Signet and Soul Ring. Binding the Old Gods will let us grab any forest, where Kalani Hard Expedition will let us grab 2 basics. And Mirage Wake is going to double the mana that our lands produce for us. Moving into removal, we have Calyx, Destiny's Hand, which again isn't my favorite type of removal, but its other abilities more than make up for it. Doomwake Giant can wipe out our opponent's entire fields with the right pieces in place. Extinguish All Hope will do just that all by itself. Path to Exile is a nice source of single target removal. Battle at the Hellvault exiles a permanent per player, allowing us to replay some strong ETB effects for ourselves, and lower the defenses of our opponents, if only for a few turns. Binding the Old Gods is back, letting us destroy another non-target land, and eventually giving all of our creatures Death Touch. Cacophony Unleashed will destroy all non-enchantment creatures, and acts as a powerful creature for most of our turns that follow. Grasp of Fate is more of that effect that I don't really like, but hey, removal is removal. Lastly, we have the Eldest Reborn, which is going to force each opponent to sack a creature. Reactions are definitely lacking in this deck, with Path of Exile being the only real piece of it that we have. This deck definitely looks to have your opponents spending their resources reacting to what you're doing, rather than you spending your resources reacting to them. But guys, that's the deck. Tell me what you think. Are there cards that I missed that I should have included? Are there cards that I added that don't make a ton of sense? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, good luck with your builds.